Hello, all you lovely freedom people out there, and welcome to today's Fireside Freedom Chat. I'm your host, Bradley Freedom, and today's guest is one of my favoriteest people in the whole world. She is doing amazing work out in Southern California, beautiful things around homeschooling. Also, she shares that spirit of personal responsibility and taking personal responsibility to another level, or these days, really any at all is a freaking miracle. Her name is Adair-Chung, and we are super, super excited to have her on the show. Really hope you enjoy the conversation just as much as I did. First things first, go ahead and text in homeschool to 844-992-FREE. That's 844-992-3733. Text in the word homeschool, and we'll send you out today's show notes. You can learn yourself a little bit more about what we talk about. Come on, let's go.
Hopefully she stays sleeping, but
hey, that's real life. If she doesn't, that's real life. It's all good. That's what editing's for.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, she's really good. I mean, she was 35 weeks, so that's why we ended up emergency C-section. Well, going to the hospital because our midwife legally can't until 36 weeks. And then, found out she was doing lots of tumbles in there and had the cord wrapped 4 times and was breached. So they're like, we need to get her out.
How are you doing recovery-wise?
I mean, as good as I can, I guess.
My first was an emergency C-section.
Oh, really?
It's a rough recovery. But my other 2 were home births. So.
Oh, yay.
So you can totally do it. You just need a midwife who knows what they're doing, who's done it before. But you can absolutely not do that again if you want to. And it works out.
Good. I know.
But
I'm like, how people
take good care of yourself.
Okay, yeah. Heal correctly.
Well, that's the big thing is I just want her to heal up. You know what I mean? Because that was a pretty intense situation.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't read anything about it because I didn't expect to go through it. So I was like, oh my God. I don't know how women choose to schedule that. I'm like,
I don't either.
Because I had the labor pains. I was like, I'd rather have that. Because you have to take care of yourself and then a baby. Like, thankfully, Brad's amazing, but can't imagine.
Yeah, I can't either, but just take good care and wait to move because I didn't wait and that was not worth it. Just wait until they give you clearance to really start lifting things and doing things.
Okay.
Give yourself lots of grace.
Yeah, I like that.
You had major abdominal surgery.
Yeah.
So lots and lots of grace.
Getting used to the house being a mess.
Slightly.
It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a permanent state.
No, and it's all good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, again, all things considered, it's double miracle, baby, right? So I'm just super happy. I'm not sure how much you know. Did you know? I guess we haven't talked to her. I don't know why we would have. Yeah, so she was born 5 weeks early, but she was breech. And had the umbilical cord wrapped around her neck 4 times.
Yeah.
So she was choking out and had her water broke, we probably would have lost baby because her feet would have went through the birthing canal and she would have been hung, basically hung herself.
That wasn't even the bad part. It was just the fact that they knew we wanted a home birth and they definitely treated us differently in the hospital.
I have
very
had
condescending
experience with that, and that's rough because my 3rd we had to go to the NICU from home. So I've been there. I get it. It's a lot. It's a lot. Also, don't underestimate how much emotional recovery needs to happen from that experience. Because if you don't, then it comes up later in really weird, not great ways. So just let yourselves heal. That was a lot.
Yeah, for sure. It gave me a lot of motivation to to change things.
We're like,
right?
we want to start our own hospital.
Yeah. I'm like, well, and that's the thing is because
if that's a thing, please do it. That's like, it's become one of my biggest fears, taking my kids to the hospital, because navigating it safely has become a real issue.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that what we have is insurance companies that dictate medicine, right? They are dictating what the treatments and the care is for patients.
Well, and now we have legislators dictating medicine. So
yeah, hooray for them. Yeah. And it's just nuts, right? And there's no holistic component to it, right? Like me, I take the best of everything, right? Because I mean, again, it was a modern technological miracle that baby was born, and they're both here safe and like perfect, right? I mean, all of that technology is amazing, and I do call it modern technology and not modern medicine, because I will argue the medicine part all day long, right? Because to me, it's not medicine what they do with their pills and all that stuff. It's not. Yeah. That's more of a sick care
augmentation.
system. Yeah. Right. And they just kind of keep you sick, and they do these weird things, right? Put a Band-Aid on it. But it's not just a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid that's got side effects that, like, you know what I mean? Well, if you use this Band-Aid, you might also get diarrhea. And you're like, that sucks.
Are you having fallout from the meds they gave you?
Well, they diagnosed me with preeclampsia, but the only symptom I had was like high blood pressure. And then I feel like they were the ones that kept rising it, because they would come in more often and check it, and I couldn't go outside, and I was like, oh my goodness. So yeah, they put me on these meds. Brad actually had to call 911 the other morning because the meds lowered it so low.
Too low. Yeah.
So then I just stopped taking the meds, and I'm like,
yeah, her lips were blue, you know what I mean? And like, I was just like, oh, Jiminy Christmas. And just the day before, we were at the doctor, and she was explaining to the doctor, this is not right. Yeah. She's like, something's not right with this meds. And she knew it was the meds. We did, you know what I mean? And they just told her, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Go home. So
yeah, because forget the patient. The patient doesn't matter in the process anymore.
Just numbers.
It's wild, man.
Humans, we're products. It's not.
Yeah. It's just.
I'm glad you listened to your intuition and stopped.
Yeah.
They're trying to kill me, I think.
Well, we can't have these free thinking people walking around.
Yeah, no, not at all, right? Why? No, I mean, we can't have free thinker or logical thinkers in any way. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, some negligible things on their part. But again, I people are like, just you should sue their butts, and I'm just like, man, I'm not going to give them any more of my energy. Like they got a whole week, a whole 6 days of me pissed in their prison. And it was, and they kept, because they repeatedly threatened us with CPS, right? Yeah. Calling CPS, because we were like, something wasn't right. It was just weird. The baby came out perfect, went right to breastfeeding for 55 minutes in post-op.
Congratulations.
Like immediately. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Right?
I'm so glad she got that opportunity. Not every family even gets that opportunity right after. That's true.
It was great. And they're like, oh man, she's awesome. She's doing so well. They're like, usually we would have to hold her for 24 hours because of she's preemie, and the whole situation. But the nurses, the head nurses there, they were like, but you know what? We're only going to hold her for 6 hours, and then we'll bring her to your room. Well, 45 minutes, an hour later, they come running to the room to get me and say there's something wrong. So I go to the thing, and I don't know what's going on. But anyway, they just said, we have to do all these things. I was like, okay, whatever. Anyway, we're getting discharged 6 days later, and they come in, they say, oh, you mean no one? 3 nurses come in, and the head one of the floor is like, oh, no one told you? Oh, wait, no, no, oh, no one told you? I can't believe no one told you. Yeah, actually, so what happened is when she came into the NICU, we gave her the wrong fluids. We put her on sugar fluid and spiked her blood sugar. That's the reason she was there for the whole time. How cool is that? They told me as we're leaving. Yeah, with our discharge paper, just right, of course. And it took forever, and I know they were dreading that. But by then I didn't care. I was seriously, I wanted, I was like, dude, I'm in the clutches of the freaking belly of the dragon beast goddess.
I'll say whatever I need to do to
get fine. Yeah. High five. Yeah. You want me to stand on my head over here? Fine. What? You know what I mean? They're like, feed your baby 45 milliliters and her stomach's like 20. And you're like, dude, I'm trying to jam. Dude, it was just one thing after another, and it was kind of a thing.
I think the hospital will be started though, because our midwife said that same week she had to transfer 5, and that's like she's never ever had to like transfer so many.
Yeah.
So they forced us into situations, I think, and something good will come out of it.
Yeah, it's tackling fuel, right? Yeah. It's just more energy. Yes. It's more, again, a reminder, because I grew up homeopathic and natural as much as you can, right? Again, it's the blending of both worlds. Like, of course, I'm so grateful we had that technology, because I might not have my baby or my wife here, you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean then you just go full bore and say, okay, well, now I'm going to eat all your Vicodin and all this stuff. And that's another thing. They were pushing opiates in the, I know. And I was like, that's not cool. You don't push opiates, dude. We have an opiate fucking pandemic right now. You don't push opiates. What are you doing? And because they were trying to scare her into taking fucking drugs.
Well, and they won't let you do when you're in the hospital, they won't let you do any of the things that you
natural stuff
be doing to help with your pain.
Right.
How is your pain? Is your pain okay?
Yeah.
Better?
She's good. Amazing with the pain. Yeah. She just didn't want the opiates. She was I don't like the way they feel. Yeah. She was like, I don't want to be high.
I know.
He kept giving me a guilt trip for not taking them.
Yeah, right. I was like, what?
Like I'm very confused.
Usually it's the other way, where it's like, they're trying to not give you the pain pills. Now all of a sudden they're like, just, yes, please. Maybe, I don't know what happened. It's just.
I don't know. Well, I'm glad you guys are home and all 3 of you are safe. And I'm so sorry you had that experience. But I have had 2 successful HVACs.
Okay, cool.
So 2. Okay. And I was like, I'm healthy, but they decided, because I have a genetic condition, that our first baby, we went like allopathic, and they decided I was high risk from the beginning. So they predetermined the outcome. So even though I did everything to avoid it, they did everything they could. And I had like our first birth was a really traumatic, crazy situation. I ended up with a goose egg on my head because they slammed me on the surgery table so hard.
Oh, what?
They were so mad at me for fighting back and pushing back the entire time.
That they got hostile with you?
Oh, yeah. They physically, I had a goose egg like this big on the back of my head.
Oh, man.
Wow. And my staples were twisted. It was all kinds of crazy. But we healed from that experience. We learned from that experience. People will always say, well, at least you have a healthy baby. And yeah, that's great. And amazing. I'm so glad you guys are all well, but that almost like hurts to hear, because you're like, it still was a serious experience that we went through. But we healed from that, and I was able to have 2 incredible, empowering, redemptive home births that, like, my daughter, when she was born, and it was so amazing that, like, my daughter was born at home and it was wonderful. My son was born at home, and all of my other babies crawled in the pool right after he was born. So his first touch, his first words, sounds, feels were all from the 4 of us in the birth tub together in our home. So I had the awful, I had all of that stuff, and we came out on the other end. So it doesn't mean that you have to do that ever again if you don't want to, and it works out that way.
That's awesome. Thank you for those words of encouragement, because it's, that was definitely a concern, right? Because the doctor said too, no, you won't be able to.
Yeah, don't listen to that.
No, I know. I know better than to listen to those people. No, I mean, at this point, you're just like, bro, get out of here. I don't care what you say. Not that I really cared before, but
enjoy that beautiful baby and rest and recover well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So this is actually probably one of the coolest conversations we've had in a while, especially around this. I guess to be fair, it just happened, right? So yeah. But
I mean, our midwives are great.
Oh, midwives are awesome. Our doula's awesome. Yeah.
Midwives in general are such a gift.
Oh,
They're incredible.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. Yeah. So, Allie, how do you pronounce your last name? Is it Adair-Chung or
Adair?
Adair. Like Adair. Yeah. I dare you.
Yeah, like I dare you.
Okay. I like it. Awesome. Well, we'll just kind of I guess we can start. I just want to kind of have you give an intro. Like we can like plug in all the, the production, post-production, like intro and all that later. But like, just what we can, I'll just do this little bit right here, and then we'll just have you introduce yourself, and then we'll just, I guess, keep going. I don't know why the first part was awesome. So I don't know why we would even omit that at all, because that's so important. And again, I think hearing you say that, not just for us, but for lots of other people would love to hear.
Yeah. Well, maybe we could
that's a success
to other
story.
People and then chop it up into one or something.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. And
if you need help getting in touch with people, let me know, because I'm really close with our midwife, and she could absolutely connect you.
No, we would love that. Absolutely. And again, because this is a group effort, right? And that's what we're really trying to do with all this is community driven. And it's going to take all of us to come together, because doing this individually, kind of trying to sporadically, it's just not really doing. We have to all collectively come together and say, okay, we're not doing this anymore. And that's what I'm saying about I know nothing about hospitals, but I know about natural care. And the point is I know who I'm looking for. And if it has to be us, you know what I mean? That are the catalyst for this change because of this experience, whatever it's going to be, that's fine. Yeah. But it's about connecting.
When you consider what fear and stress does to the human body, so just creating an environment that's meant for healing, that is so fear and stress is so disconnected.
It's the antithesis of what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And in the meantime, until we get our own hospital, I'm going to start a little side hustle of birth kits, so to say, and if I have to put it in, like, hide it in a restaurant bag to sneak it into people, I don't care. But just getting them, like, prunes and lemon packets and, natural magnesium. Well, we asked if we could bring magnesium in, and they were like, yeah, we'll have our lab test it. I was like, oh my God, I should have just lied.
Yeah. Well, with my youngest, when we had to go to the NICU after the home birth, he ended up being fine. Our midwife was just in abundance of caution, had us go. And then they literally told us they were keeping us until we liked hospitals. One of the doctors said that to us. It was insane, you guys, insane. But they because we're in the NICU, I wasn't allowed to have food or water in there. And you can only have 2 people. Now you can only have 1. And I have been through enough medical experiences with my children at this point to know that I will never leave them unattended, not for a second.
Smart.
And it's unfortunate that I had to learn that the hard way. But like if my children are in care of someone, they are never alone. So I could only eat or drink if I left the floor, left my brand new baby. So they're starting to worry about jaundice and not enough diapers. And I'm like, how am I supposed to start making milk for him if I can't eat, drink, or sleep? You tell me how that's supposed to happen. And I'm like, if you're worried about this and this, we'll bring him back for this or that, but you need to discharge us if he's safe, because at that point we knew he was. He'd had every test under the sun and was healthy and gorgeous and the biggest baby in the NICU they'd ever seen, because he was like 9.5 pounds.
Wow.
Happy baby. And I literally had to argue with the doctor. I was like, you're concerned he's not getting enough milk. My milk has not come in and you're not giving me food or water. How is my body supposed to make milk for him? And had to get into this argument. So yes, sneaking in things that women need to be able to recover, to feed their babies, to make sure babies getting everything they need is so important. It is so ridiculous that they keep those things apart. And I just would walk down the hall and I'd see these other moms who were obviously first-time moms, maybe didn't have that, and they're just the way it's set up. I'm like, those moms are being set up for, I don't want to say failure. That's not the right word, but set up for heartache, set up for not being able to breastfeed, set up for second guessing every decision that they make. Second guessing every time their intuition starts screaming at them. The way it's set up, there's no way to avoid it unless you already know and come in with your armor on. And it just broke my heart. It just completely broke my heart. But yeah, it's crazy that they don't let moms have the basic things you need. And there's studies on all the things you just listed. There are medical studies in the medical journals that say that all of those things are gentler on the system, gentler for baby, and more effective. prunes are more effective than the pills they want to give you.
Yeah.
They're gentler on the system. Like, it's just so mind-boggling to me. But yes, let's go ahead, and you want to talk.
I know we're going. Yeah, no, this is amazing. Yeah, no, today we're supposed to be talking about homeschooling, but I think we should talk about homeschooling and all the freaking other amazing stuff. You know,
well, I think here's the thing, though. This is so important because this is the moment. What we're talking about right now. This is the exact moment where parents don't stop trusting themselves. Mm-hmm. So even before they have their baby home, like this is happening when parents are going in for their prenatal checks. The way our system is created reinforces this idea almost that parents are stupid. And I'm using air quotes because that's not true, but makes them think they have to rely on experts to tell them what to think, how to think, what to do. Makes them feel like their own intuition and what
it's gaslighting. It's more gaslighting.
Absolutely. But it happens this early. This is when it happens. And by the time families come to me and their kids are, 7 to 14 years old and they have suffered trauma from the system, and the parents it's almost like undoing Stockholm syndrome, like to really get them to deschool and go through that process and realize that those natural instincts that they had in the very beginning, those common sense thoughts that popped up and were shot down, that those were what they really need to rely on so that they can give their child everything that they know their child deserves and is capable of. So in talking about homeschool, this part is actually just as important because this is the moment when they start detaching you from that.
No, this is like
they're very connected.
Yeah. Well, and that's amazing what you do. Yeah. That's really cool. I love the work you do. And like I said, we're supposed to talk about homeschooling, but we talk about this and we'll talk about everything with our very special, amazing guest, Adair-Chung. Hello, Allie. Thank you for joining us. You want to tell everybody who you are, a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So my name's Allie. I am a Southern California girl, which is kind of an iffy place to be from now.
Used to be the best.
It used to be. Yeah. But I am a second generation homeschooler, mother to 3 wonderful wildlings is what I call them. I'm married to my best friend. And I work to empower parents. Especially when they're starting their homeschooling journey. I've been working with homeschooling families for about a decade, and I've worked with hundreds of families at this point. And that's really what I'm passionate about, is in getting parents informed, following their intuition, and empowered to do what's best for their unique kids.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome. Right on. So how long have you been doing it?
So I've been working with homeschoolers for over a decade now. I decided to start my own business this past year.
During the 2020.
During 2020. It honestly, what triggered it was the CDC regulations that came out for schools. So this was back in, was it May? It was back in May last year. CDC came out and said, okay, our schools are going to need to, separate, like when they came out with that very first list. And I was like, and I just got a deluge of people needing help and seeking help. And I was like, that's it. I'm like, I have to get to more people and support more people and figure out a way to be that stepping stone into what's possible for them. And at the time I was working within the charter system in California, and I realized I just wasn't going to be able to make the impact with the restraints that puts on me. So started my own thing.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. That's actually freaking amazing. I really love when people, well, we do here anyway at the Freedom People. It's kind of what we're trying to do, right? In the Freedom Podcast is just take action, right? Like instead of complaining about it or something like that, you know what? Nah, we'll build our own. We'll do our own thing then. No, that's okay. Yes. I don't agree. And again, that's where like peaceful resistance, peaceful dissonance, peaceful, you know what I mean? Protesting. And it's really just, but again, it doesn't have to be that you go out and you protest against something. And I think that's where we all kind of sometimes get caught up when we kind of trying to fight what we don't want instead of trying to build what we do want. Right.
Exactly. Well, and that's what I love about what you guys are doing, because I've been feeling and talking to people a lot about how it's time to just create our own economy. Yeah. It's time to just, say, look, we see what you're doing. We see where you're at. And Not that we're going to stop fighting, but at the same time, I'm going to start focusing on making sure that this generation and the upcoming generation have a solid option. They have something they can go to and do. And we can stand, because we stand, instead of standing against, we stand together. I think we're going to be even more powerful.
Amen, sister. That's what I've been, Axel, that's what we're all about. And we're right there with you. And that's where it's like, I've been saying it for many years, that bike's broken. That system is broken. It's busted. It's like rusted. It's like, you're not fixing that. It's like, and again, I love talking to everybody and anybody. It's just me. I'm more of, okay, I personally don't see, and because of my, I'm not that old, but I have been old enough to see many, or not many, but 5 presidents come and go, and all the elections in between and all that crap. And not one thing's changed, right? Since Reagan, it's only gotten worse. And so again, you're not voting it in, you're not voting it out. This is, So, and again, it's just, it's inspiring to meet people like you, right? Because it's like, okay, cool. It gives you more jet fuel, you know what I mean? More of this tackling fuel, like, okay, I can keep going because there's more people and we can do this. Like we were saying with hospitals, I don't know anything about hospitals. I know that what type of environment I want to raise my child, and I know what type of environment I want her to go to in case of an emergency. So let's figure that one out. And I know surgeons who are being the surgeons and doing the surgeon thing, who hate the mask, and they know it's all BS, but they need their job. And it's like, well, okay, so there's enough of us who are, and especially after this last year, who do not trust the pharmaceutical companies anymore. I mean, and I don't know why people would in the first place, especially when it's all about profit.
It's almost like the trust, assuming there should be trust, is kind of a problem to start with. Trust is something that should always be earned. You have to demonstrate that you are trustworthy. Yeah. There's a reason. So there's like assumption that we should all be trusting what's happening is one of those things that drives me nuts. But that's also why something like homeschooling has become so crucial, because raising critical thinkers is one of our best defenses. It's one of the most proactive
1,000%
that we can be doing, right?
Oh my goodness. Because that's what we're in this position for. I believe one of the biggest problems, we've bred generations now of repeaters, you know what I mean? Little repeater people, regurgitators. They don't, because but that's how school was. That's why I quit school, because I hated school, because I love to learn. I love learning. Yeah. I love consuming new information. I've just always been that way. And so, that's why I could do lots of stuff, because I just wanted to learn. And I was just blessed enough to be born into the age of information with the internet. Yes. Holy crap. Right. You know what I mean? When I was like, a kid, the internet, here we go. You know what I mean? I'm 15. The internet's like here rocking, you know what I mean? And I'm like consuming all kinds of stuff. Right. So, but that's not what school was about at all. So I was out of school at 15, you know what I mean? I was like, later. Nah, I don't. As soon as I could. And I was already working construction and stuff. So I had a job, and it was just like, there was no way I could learn 10 times more on my own.
Yeah. One of the things, so I love history. I love studying history. I think it's fascinating to look at the different perspectives of every time. And we have butchered history by teaching it in little sound bites in the school system instead of in its totality.
Yeah.
But what you just said, and if you look back in history, some of our greatest minds, our most prolific thinkers, have been people who didn't fit in school.
Yeah, no, yeah.
When I think about that, part of it hurts my heart, because I think about how many kids who could have been that and were, slowed down by the system.
1,000%.
Were turned off to learning so much, because you look at the statistics about Americans, very, very few Americans have read a book in the last 6 months.
Yeah, which is crazy. You got a lot of time on your hands. What else y'all doing?
It was something like less than 10% or something like that. I can't remember. I'm going to have to get that actual stat. But of course that's true. When you have put them through an education system that makes education so painful and
reading crap, it's not exciting, right?
Yeah, it's completely inauthentic. Of course, you are going to create people who do not have any desire to seek new information. And like you said, devour the information and then take action on it, do things.
Right.
We get to a place, a lot of times when families start homeschooling, they have to go through this deschooling process. And in the beginning, their kids do not want to do anything. They don't want to come out and say, I want to learn this, I want to learn that, because they associate all of those actions with painful work, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Boom.
I don't
Absolutely.
So you say, what do you want to learn? And they're like, I'm not answering that question, because they have such negative associations with that.
Yep.
And so it's something you really have to work at deschooling, working at getting them to a place where they can really love learning. And then it's incredible what happens from there.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Man, amazing. This is just such awesome stuff. I love talking to you, Allie, and anybody else, all you listeners out there. What I want you to do is I want you to text in the word homeschool to 844-992-FREE. That's 844-992-3733. And we're going to send you out today's show notes later on, and we can get a little bit more in depth with what Allie's talking about, because I think that that's a big gap that we can fill is education, because people don't know. I mean, not just like the birthing stuff we're talking about, but the homeschooling. I mean, all these different options, because I dare to say opposition, but there's this other side that just wants to kind of make everybody, again, a regurgitator and not a free thinker, and not ingenuitive people, right? Not creators and builders. And now everybody's, they just, again, but this is it's just played out, but it's this socialist, communist kind of regime thing that's happening now, that's being sold to everybody. And look what's happening. These stimulus packages, what these are universal basic income that's just being implemented, that people aren't really, right? And again, that's why I'm saying the education. And that's why I think these talks that we have are so freaking important. And how we connected and found, I don't know, but that's where you just have to keep this going, and this connections. Yeah.
Well, the way I found you guys is because I was looking to see if something existed, like a directory where we could find each other.
Oh, yeah.
If not, I was going to make it myself. And then I found you, and I was like, there we go. Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are more of us out there than we realize.
Yes.
And when we connect, powerful things happen. But, going back to what you're saying about just the massive social shifts we've seen, and the in the social narrative, so much of that goes back to our education system. And if you look at the history of our education system, which I highly encourage every parent to do, I think it's really, really important. A lot of the fears and worries that people have about going into homeschooling are based in products of a system that wasn't designed for your children. So the more you understand the system and why there's standards, who created the standards, what the standards were created for, why they're in school for the hours they're in school for, once you understand all of that and why it was created, who created it, all of that stuff, it's a lot easier to let go of that and really focus on what's important. What's important is the growth and development of our children. And if you need, just a suggestion, if you want a place to start, the book, The Underground History of American Education by John Taylor Gatto. Okay. Which is a very tough book to find. It often gets banned by our big booksellers. Yep, of course. So you have to grab it when it comes up. Anytime I see it, I grab a bunch of copies and then I give them to whoever needs them.
There you go. I love it.
But that's a really great place to start. Because the more we understand, the more power we have.
Totally. The manipulation and the control over what is being fed to our children and through, again, these past generations to create them to what they are. I don't think that the general population really knows. And I don't know, like you said, there are more people that I do believe, of course, we're informed, but the opposition narrative is so strong, and especially when you control all the airwaves, and then now they're any dissenting voices, they're just censoring you now. So now there's no more freedom of speech. Now we're in a really, really slippery place, right? And that's where, again, we can be in a slippery place or we cannot, right? And it's an immediate thing. It's just a decision to say no. And you step aside and you are no longer in that game anymore. We're no longer under your rules. And there is this thing, and it's called common law. It's called God's law. We have these natural, innate, inalienable rights that we can just, we are of the land. Leave me alone. Don't try to, but again, we are constantly voting into the system and paying attention to it, right? And it's like your blue side, red side, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, And once we can really educate people just a little bit more and just say, yo, there's options. Not only there's options, but that is where your freedom is. You are not a free person. You're an indentured servant right now. If we could really help you to kind of understand that, you know? So one question that I love to ask, it's probably, it's my favorite question to ask is, what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means that I get to live and I get, my family gets to live in a way that allows them to meet their fullest potential and be their happiest selves.
That's nice. That's nice. That's a good one. That's a good one. I'm not sure we had such an eloquent answer yet. Most people.
Well, it's because I was homeschooled at the end of high school, guys. Jump on the bandwagon.
Boom! There you go. Well, and that's real, man. You know, like I have 17 nieces and nephews, right? And some were homeschooled, and I can just tell you, but looking, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that. It's okay. You have 1-on-1 versus 30-on-1. Or, you know, 1-on-30, I guess is the other, right? I mean, one trying to teach 30. And I mean, again, and it's not in their interest to teach your child, right? But, I know we talked about this last time is like, so even if it's like someone like you're a homeschooler, right? We can have, if you were in our neighborhood, right? Or in our community, we have HDC, holistic development communities, whatever, right? But say you're in our community, you're the teacher of the block or whatever, and you teach 10 kids, right? But it's like those 10 kids and we pay you directly, like to cut out the whole middleman.
Just before the common schools started, before the institutionalization of schools started, that's exactly what communities did. They came together, they hired a teacher, the parents, and here's the thing, the bigger part of that is that the parents had a direct relationship with the teacher and what was happening in the classroom. Right. It was a partnership in the community.
Yes.
It was a conversation together. And I think that's another thing, you know, because they're exploiting the biggest fear when it comes to educating our children, the health of our children, that we will screw up our children in some way or prevent them from having something, you know, that's one of the biggest fears that parents have. And when you do something off the narrative, they really tap into that fear and say, but if you don't follow the path, then all these things. But we have so much research that shows us that that's not the case.
Right.
Not the case at all. Homeschoolers outperform academically. They're happier. They have less social emotional issues. They're more engaged in their communities. They've read books as adults.
Well, and I think it's you're right. And us as people, like as humans, we're naturally curious, and we like to explore, and we like to learn and grow, right? It's like, and it actually feeds you. And that was something I come from a broken home, you know, no father, all this stuff. And like a lot of people, you know, and I never ever used anything like that. Again, that's just the way I am. No excuses. I don't give a crap what it is. You know what I mean? And it's just because I was able to see other people who had it a lot worse than I did, you know, as far as people would say, but didn't let anything like that even touch them. You know what I mean? Like came from way worse situation. Right. No freaking legs. This dude has no legs and he's making shit happen. You have nothing to complain about. Right. So right. Growing up like that, it was, and I kind of lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was going to say.
You know what?
It's okay. But it doesn't matter. It'll come back.
What you're saying is so important is that like, because the other thing that's happening in our school system is that there's a huge disparity based on the kind of family you come from, based on the economic status of your family, based on the color of your skin. In our institutionalized schools, that does have an indicator of the outcome you're going to have. In homeschool, that is not the case.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't matter if your parent has a PhD or if they barely graduated high school. The homeschoolers are still rocking it academically, in the workplace, with their families. And so I think, but that mindset of, because also our school system focuses so much on what you don't do well, right? If you're struggling in reading, we're going to double up on your reading. Right. You're struggling in math, we're going to double up on your math. So you're spending most of your time doing things that
you don't like,
challenging for you. When in reality, exactly. When in reality, if you can strengthen those other things, you'll pick up the skills you need for those things to get finer.
For those, and to create a craft of your own, or everybody's human signature print of their lifetime is so different from each other, and we should celebrate that difference. But again, and that's kind of what I was trying to get before I lost my little train and went toot, 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 somewhere. I don't know where that guy went. But anyway,
we get our way back around.
Yeah. But it's like, well, they stomp out any sort of, right. Again, it's just all you do is you get good grades.
Limits.
Right. Well, that and they. Right. Yeah. Yes, exactly. The pound. Right. Exactly. And they also, you get graded for how well you can repeat things and things of that sort. Right. Again, repeaters. So it's not about going and exploring. Right. Hey, go out and explore this. And that's, again, something that homeschooling allows. I feel is much more of the exploration, right? And especially when it's your mom or someone, and again, and if it's a small group and community, that's again, this is where we talked about I believe our biggest chance, our greatest chance is decentralization, right? Mm-hmm. That's, again, we have this huge White House somewhere on the East Coast that's supposed to like dictate everything for everybody. It's so archaic and old school. You know what I mean? It's like basically having a king, you know what I mean? It's like, and you have to kiss their butt and do what they say. And it's just like, I think I'll try some. So, well, I have another question for you, though. I do have some questions. We'll just talk all day, which is great.
I think we could.
I mean, but this is when you find people that you have like these core values with, right? And I call them values, not beliefs, because beliefs can change and things like that. But these values we have somewhere, and freedom is something that is a common thread. And without freedom, what do we have? You know what I mean? It's like, what really, that's our foundation. If we don't have a foundation of freedom and the ability to explore and the ability to open free information, right? And the ability for discourse, right? Civil discourse, and to be able to look at two, composing or contradictory, facts or contradictory viewpoints and say, okay, I can choose which one's best for me. Whereas now, again, with the censorship and stuff, they're just nixing all that stuff. So, which really means that your entire life is chosen for you, right? Because once you get rid of choice, then it's done. Every step that comes before you is already chosen for you. Right, exactly. And again, that takes out the excitement of anything, right? Yeah. If you knew the outcome of the book or the movie of life, like the purpose of life, to grow, to explore, to question. Right. That's certainly something that's missing in these systems. Like, not allowed to question anything. Yeah, no. Well, it's funny. So sometimes this bites you in the butt. I'm just going to warn you. You're brand new dad. I'm going to just let you know. You got to be prepared for this. Okay. We encourage that in our children, and I always will. But occasionally, because they get smarter than us real quick. Oh, right? Man, I'm in trouble for sure. Yeah. So they start questioning, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that they do. But sometimes I'm like, oh, you're out thinking me here. Yeah. So I'm like, we have to redeem our own education through our children's homeschooling. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one when she starts like, outsmarting kind of, and that's good. It's a beautiful thing when you see little kids like minds kind of start to turn, right? Like I said, I've been around kids my whole life or whatever. And so you get to watch them kind of grow up and they start to put things together. You know what I mean? Yes. Like shit's a bad word, but is holy shit a bad word? You know what I mean? Like is that a bad thing? Because it's holy, right? So it's like trying to understand. Also, they see things so much clearer than we do. Yeah. It's pretty, I'm sorry, I'm bringing it back to homeschool, but that's another one of those beautiful things that when you don't homeschool, you miss, is really getting to see at how your children's thinking develops and get to hear them grow and get to be there for those light bulb moments. It is such an incredible gift. Such an incredible gift. Absolutely. And don't be sorry about talking about homeschooling, because that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about. Well, and I mean, so for you, like, and again, it's not even really for you. I guess in your personal experience, what is the most freeing part, or your favorite part about what you're creating with the Conscious Family Project? Oh, that is such a good question. My favorite part is the outcomes. Mm-hmm. It's seeing what's happening to these families, seeing the shifts that these families are going through. Families who have kids who were,
especially kids who had IEPs or were considered gifted in school and were struggling with bullying or just not getting what they need. And that permeated their home. This happens so frequently.
Sure.
It becomes everything about the family's life gets wrapped around these issues, these learning struggles, behaviors, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You have to get tutors, you're fighting through homework. It just permeates their entire life. And then once they go through my courses or coaching, they come out on the other end and they are having game nights as a family and everyone's getting the sleep they need and they're happy during the day and they're starting to connect with a kiddo that they used to only fight with. Yeah. And the family is starting a business or starting a garden or going on a trip in the middle of the week or visiting dad at work. Like, seeing the massive shifts that happen in the relationships of the families that go through what I offer and seeing the growth in my I call them my kids. They're not my kids. I just love them all.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
But seeing, a kiddo who's been struggling, I'm air quoting this, but struggling with reading for years and goes 3 grade levels in 2 months.
Right.
Because they finally we put the right key in, right?
Which again doesn't happen when you have this centralized, these. Right. No, it can't.
The best teacher in the world with the biggest heart in the world.
You're not going to do that with 30 kids in the room or 50 kids or however many. I mean,
yeah. And I hold 3 teaching credentials.
Right.
I taught in the schools. I was homeschooled. I saw the massive difference it made in my own family, especially with my sister who had learning struggles. And, they were like, oh, she'll be lucky to graduate high school. And she makes monsters for movies. Like, she's incredible.
Yeah.
She's always been incredible, but it really, seeing the magic that happened once we started homeschooling, I was like, I'm going back into the system. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to change it. We're going to do this. And that was I realized very quickly that's just not physically possible with the way the system is set up. And I knew just by working with parents, I knew that the answer to all of these issues in our education system and what's happening in our social climate, our political climate, the answer is in parents. The answer is in empowering our parents, because when our parents are empowered, when they have the information, when they trust their intuitions and they do what's best for their families, the world changes.
Sure.
When parents are happy, when kids are happy, when families are connected, when people are going after what they're passionate about and feel fulfilled and seen, that changes the world. So I was like, that's it. I'm done. I got to work with families. I have to work with the parents because I can't change the world from inside the system. But I can change it. I can change it by empowering parents to change it in their homes.
Right.
That is where we have the biggest impact. And so many parents come, they even considering homeschooling makes them so nervous because of all the things we've been told about the system, right?
Of course. Fear. System. False evidence appearing real. Fear.
Absolutely.
Fear.
But I could give you thousands of examples of just straight miracles that have happened when parents have made this switch, when they have stepped into their power and taken the initiative to do what's best for the unique and beautiful children they've been entrusted with. The miracles that happen, we would need a whole nother day of a show just to go into just the pure magic that happens. And every single parent, regardless of whether or not you were a good student or a bad student, regardless of if you love math or hate it, regardless of if you're working or not, every parent has the ability to do this, because at the end of the day, there's nobody in this world who has more of a stake in the outcome of your child's life
than you do. Duh.
It's it.
Right. I kind of make that argument across the board. Your health, I mean, pick one. Like your finance, like who you do it again. And that's where like having this self-reliance and responsibility, something that people just, it's not ingrained in us anymore. Somewhere we lost that in our American culture. Like I was raised on a ranch. And so I was just raised to be independent and hardworking, and I don't really like handouts. I keep your stuff. I kind of want to do my thing, and it's so empowering, and once you can start and once people can take that first, and that first step, because it's like, oh my God, it's a cliff. But once you step off, you realize it's just a curb. It's just a curb. It wasn't a cliff. It's a curb.
The other
all
side
is well.
is more beautiful than you could imagine. It's worth it.
Yeah, you were just stepping down right up towards your next like level of freaking into the stairway to heavens, man. Like, and it's like, but again, it's because then once you do that first step, then it becomes addicting, right? Because it's that rewards. You want to talk about feeling good, do something for yourself. Make the right choice, make a better healthy choice for yourself. Make a more independent choice for yourself, even if it's not healthy, even if you're like, I'm eating all that fucking cupcake. I don't care. You know what I mean? But at least say you did it, right? And take that responsibility. And I think that's
that's authentic reward. Yeah. That's authentic reward. And so much of the system is created on inauthentic reward, which is why people feel unfulfilled. That's why our kids have such severe anxiety disorders and mental health issues, because we are literally staking their entire lives on these inauthentic rewards. Who cares, as an adult, who has asked you when you started reading? Have you ever been in a job interview where they're like, you know what, you're great, you have all the qualifications, but first, let me know, when did you start walking? When did you start reading?
Ooh, 3?
We're gonna test that. We're gonna. You're sorry.
You were 3 years old. Oh.
But we've created this culture where we put so much pressure on inauthentic reward that authentic reward seems strange and feels unfamiliar. But once you step into that and you feel it, and you're like, oh my goodness, I can actually feel something positive for something I've done. Really feel fulfilled in that moment. It's
and again, and to me, they're these arbitrary markers with kids. We're just putting these arbitrary markers and things and saying, oh, you didn't do this by then. Well, then you might. And again, back to what you said earlier, our brightest minds weren't because they were of the system. If you don't understand, they were against the system, because the system, these systems that have domain over the human population at the current time, it's not about that. It's about control, right? Yes. And the last thing they want is free thinking. The last thing they want is dissenting voices, because free thinking is dissenting voice. Because if you're like, wait, why? Again, that one word, why, that very irritating thing when you have like a 2-year-old, why, or no, right? But again, be that 2-year-old, why?
Yep.
Why are we doing this? Like, again, and it's just this last 2020 really, it was eye-opening for me how many people would just go along, not a problem, not even questioning.
Well, there's such a carrot and stick situation in our education system. You are either sitting quietly and doing exactly what you're told and are a good student, or you are bad. Yeah, right. And there's no kind of, right. You have to follow everything they say, or then you're just a rebel. Right. And that's kind of what it was. Like as a kid, I was the bad kid because I wouldn't sit still. I had so much energy and stuff. You know what I mean? And there's studies about. Interesting. A young boy having energy.
Not wanting to just sit there all day. Like,
medicate him.
Yeah. Ritalin. Put him on Ritalin. Yeah. There's something wrong with him.
He's a 7-year-old boy and he is moving. Stop it. That's not natural. That's not how they're designed.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And that's it, right? I mean,
what happens if you let kids climb trees before you sit down to try to teach them something?
Yeah. Well, let them and kind of like you were saying, giving the test on while they're doing their bike, right? They're riding their bike around. Do that, or while they're climbing the tree. Let's talk about things about trees and apples or whatever. You know what I mean? Math and spelling and reading. All these. I mean,
have you ever noticed how when a child is fully invested in their play, they come up with the most interesting questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's when they'll ask, but why does the wind blow from this direction to that direction?
Yeah.
Something you may not have ever realized they noticed.
Yeah.
That's because our brains require, especially our little guys, but adults too, they require time of introspection, of calm, to be able to really absorb all the thoughts and the things that are going on in our world. And so this pace that is set by participating in the system, where you wake up, you grab a quick breakfast, you rush out the door, you get to school, they're going from class to class, they get 15 minutes to play, then they get 20 minutes for lunch, don't talk to anybody, do a quick run, right? And then you pick up the kids as fast as you can, get them to their after school activities, run home to do homework, then everyone's exhausted, goes to sleep, and you just keep this cycle going. There's no time.
The rat race.
There's no time to think. There's no time to consider what you're seeing. Yeah. And that's especially true of our children. So that's why we have third graders who are completely burnt out.
Yeah.
who never want to read again.
Yeah.
And
what is going on? That's just sad.
It's so sad. It's so wrong. But it's also, I can have empathy for the families who are in it, because there's literally no time to feel into it, to think about what you're seeing. Even though your child is crying every time you sit down to do homework with them, you just don't have time to process that. You keep going. And I hope that if anybody is in that situation, please take this moment to cancel something and sit and really reflect on what you're seeing in your children, what you're seeing in your family. And if what you're seeing is really what you want for your family to remember life as.
Wow.
Because that right there will be your guiding light for what you should be doing next.
Wow. That was beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. And I love that call to action, and again, if anybody really wants to go deeper into what we're doing, I would just implore you to right now go freaking text in to 844-992-FREE. That's 844-992-3733 and receive today's show notes from Allie, or with Allie anyway. And we got to get this information out. Right. And again, and that's where we're going to create, and there's other ones out there, and we're just going to be another node in the hub, if you will. Right. And it's just another node of, hey, here's more information that is, maybe contradictory to what you may have been fed your entire life. Right. And again, you got to wake up from the matrix. You got to wake up in the matrix, I guess, wake up from it's just wild. It's the control. But again, it's all based on fear, false evidence appearing real. It's all based on fear. That again, it's like, I'm jumping off a cliff, and then you jump off and it's like a curb, and you're like, oh, well, I put a parachute on to step off a curb. You know what I mean? It's like kind of ridiculous, but
yeah. Well, and don't let the information overwhelm you to stop. I feel like that's something too that has come from our system, and that we're so used to people parsing things out for us. Like, these are the reasons the war happened. This is what, telling you exactly, breaking it down into tiny chunks, that when we're presented with full, rich information, we often have a tendency to shut down because we haven't gone through that deschooling process yet. And I just want to encourage everybody that the power, that releasing of fear and the empowerment is just on the other side of that overwhelm. So take that information, take it in, embrace it, because your power is just on the other side.
Oh, beautiful message. Beautiful message. That is like one of my favorite messages. I'm trying to give you some applause here. Yeah! I mean, I should have been hitting this button the whole time, but again, it's been just such like an engaging conversation. I'm not trying to push any buttons and stuff. We want to get fluff. We'll do the fluff later. It's all just good juice information here. So what sort of what sort of services do you offer at the Conscious Family Project?
So I have courses for families that are getting started in homeschooling or have been at it for a while and it's just not quite fitting yet. I've got courses, and then I also offer coaching. And I have a couple of really cool things coming down. I'm working with other Freedom people on some new products for families coming up to help with co-ops and community creation and curriculum. So there's a lot coming, but if you want to get started, come find me and I will get you on the right path.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, since you say it, how can people find you? That's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, so you can find me at Adair-Chung.com, or if you're on social, I am on Instagram at Conscious Family Project. We'll see how much longer I'm on there.
Right. Well, and again, we're in this space right now where if you're not being canceled, then you're doing something wrong. Right. Or you're not of the consciousness that we're talking about. It's getting a little crazy out there. You know what I mean? Like, and again, that's why we just have to focus on starting our own and these little decentralized communities and groups. And, for the longest time, I've always been like, well, we'll have our own little community kind of thing. But again, this is an idea that needs to be spread across all communities. Right. And again, contributionalism within your own within your own community, right? Your local community, and everybody contributes and everybody can, but you have to have that that transparency, something that there's no way you're going to get from a institution or multiple institutions, whatever, that are losing $30 trillion a year in your taxpayer money, right? It's just, I mean, if you lost $30 trillion or $1 trillion, maybe you might know about it, right? I mean, I haven't checked my bank account last time, but if I lost $1 trillion, I'm probably pretty sure I'd remember, I'd know, or I'd realize. So again, just doing all this is the best, this is what I believe, or we believe, I guess, is it's what we can do right now. Obviously, it's the most dangerous thing, because that's where and of course, freedom of speech, right? And the freedom of speech is number one, and we have number two, which is the guns. And again, I'm not a violent person, but the reason we have two is to protect one. And we're really close. And again, it's a scary place to be, right? But again, it's not, I don't want to fight anything. I want to build what I want.
Create.
Yes, exactly. I want to create. I don't want to destroy or fight. And it is really kind of that split where we're at, right? It's like you choose left, you choose right. And it's really, are we choosing fear or are we choosing love? Because it's like, I can be in complete fear, wear this mask, do everything they tell me to, or I can trust in God or the light of the universe or whatever you want to say. And I can follow that, which is love and excitement and joy, right? Because if you're not in fear, then you're in joy. And we're creating, we're building beautiful things and beautiful humans, right? I don't even like that term anymore, the hue of man. But anyway, like children, we're raising these amazing children who then are free thinkers, right? And we're amazing people. They're going to be peoples, right? And so, I can't tell you how honored I am again to have you here and to now know you and stuff. And we'd like to keep this conversation going, please. I don't even know how long. I would
love to. I do want to say one more thing. If any of what you just said resonates with any of your listeners, you have to leave the system. You have to leave the education system. It's unfortunate, but you have to make a different choice, because our kids are being taught very different things about what freedom means, what it means about you, if that's something you value, where they're even teaching a different, they're teaching differently why the Second Amendment exists, even though the reason it exists is a factual, there's plenty of documentation to prove why it exists. It's being taught differently. And if you don't know 100% of what is happening in your child's classroom, if you can find out. But if any of those things resonate with you, it's time to break free. It's time to jump off that curb, because we are not going to be able to maintain any semblance of freedom and creativity in our culture if we don't basically choke out that system and let it go.
I know for a lot of parents, the straw that broke the camel's back was the sex education getting younger and younger as well. But just for everyone, the fact
that you can't, there's the like you said, you don't know what's going on in those classrooms, and you're not allowed to record it. And I don't know if you remember all that kind of stuff with this, like in the beginning, they were like, we don't want our stuff recorded. And that's just it. Yeah, that sounds ultra creepy, doesn't it? I mean, to anybody else, isn't that a little fucking suspect?
There's a difference right now in people who believe that children belong to the state, belong to the community, belong to the government, or children belong to their families.
Oh, wow.
And you've got to pick a side. It's time to pick a side, and you need to pick a side, and you need to live out picking that side.
Freaking heck yes. Amen, sister. That's what I'm talking about, man. Yeah. And we are at that point. I mean,
we are.
There's no more fence sitting. There's no more fence sitting.
And it can be uncomfortable to take that leap. And, that is what I'm here to help with. That's why I created what I created, because I know it feels uncomfortable to step in. People always say, I'm not patient enough to homeschool. I'm not credentialed. I don't know how to teach.
I'm not a doctor. I can't teach my 5-year-old.
But none of those things have any bearing in the success, and you absolutely can do this. I have seen every type of family you can imagine, every color, every creed, every economic status, every temperament have success in this. You can do it. You absolutely can. And it's, time to get off the fence. 100%.
I'm so excited to go all the way through, but the homeschooling like a pro is amazing. You go through, philosophy, how we learn, how to plan, It's
really everybody's got to go check that out. Yeah. And again, if you text into the number we gave you a couple times, we'll give you again 844-992-FREE. If you text in homeschool or home, I like homeschool. Send us in homeschool to 844-992-3733, and we're gonna we'll drop you a link to where you can find all this information. Also, you'll be able to see Allie's information, where to find her, where to see this kick-ass stuff she's got going on. Because this is, again, time is of the essence. like it's time for action now. It was a long time ago. We're already in the belly of the dragon. We got a lot of work to get back out. And again, our freedoms, once we lose those freedoms, they do not give them back. They have to be won back. They have to be taken back or sidestepped. They do not have any control over us unless we give that to them. You know what I mean? And if we just 51% of the people, and that's I know we got to get out of here, but I believe that maybe we are the majority and not the minority. And it's just because they've got the narrative and all the communication pathways crammed full. We don't watch news or anything. And I saw CNN the other day, and they still have a ticker up about how many cases there's been about corona. And this whole, again, they're still just pushing the fear war. You know, the war thing around. Remember in war times, they put around how many people are dead, bombs. And you're just like, dude, take it easy, man. I just want to fucking chill. Can we just hang out? No? Okay. More war. Just blow shit up. No, now it's a war on a virus, and now it's war on whatever. Yeah.
I laugh because otherwise I just get really upset and cry.
And we're together though. Yeah.
One why and 10 seconds of research to realize how much you do not need to fear. So we have to take our kids out of the system that is teaching them that trusting that and not asking why is the only way to go, because it's not. Those why moments when your 2-year-old is asking you why, I know at some point you're going to have to cut it off, but try to answer as many of them as you can. Try to encourage it. It's worth it. I promise.
Well, when they ask why, I want them to research it. I'm going to tell them to go figure out the why, because again, that's the exploration. Your own why is different from my why. Do you know what I mean? And that's the beauty of this human experience is there's no blueprint, and everybody seems to act like they got the blueprint. You know what I mean? And I know I'm going to jack my kid up. I know I'm going to mess her up, but I want to at least give her the opportunity to do it first. You know what I mean? like I want to give her.
She will do it in a loving, stable environment, and that's the best we can do. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, Allie, it's been freaking amazing. You're frozen here, but that's okay, because we're going to talk to you again next time. And thank you again. And one more time, if you could just tell everybody where to reach you and how to find you.
Yeah, you can find me at Adair-Chung.com or Conscious Family Project on social media.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Awesome. This was my favorite so far. Allie, everybody, thank you so much. We'll talk soon.